Under the bright lights of Las Vegas, two warriors stood on opposite sides of destiny. The ring announcer's voice echoed through the arena, calling first the pride of Japan, the relentless, battle-tested Nihito Arakawa, a man forged in the fires of Tokyo gyms, molded by endurance and heart. He carried the badge of the Oriental and Pacific lightweight champion, known not for finesse, but for his unbreakable will. As the crowd's cheers faded into anticipation, the second name brought a wave of recognition: El Niño de Oro, Jorge Linares. Venezuela's golden boy, smooth as silk, with hands as fast as lightning, and a style admired across continents. A two-time world champion seeking redemption, seeking to prove that his beauty in the ring could outshine the shadows of past defeats. The referee's words, "Protect yourself at all times, obey my commands at all times," were drowned beneath the heartbeat of the crowd. Then came the sound every fighter lives for, the bell. From the opening seconds, Linares danced with purpose, his movement fluid, his jab sharp. Arakawa, in his green and white trunks, pressed forward with the courage of a man who never takes a step back. The first exchanges were a clash of philosophies: art versus grit, speed versus stubbornness. Linares snapped crisp right hands through the guard, while Arakawa ate them, stepped in, and kept throwing. The rhythm was set. Linares painting with precision, Arakawa hammering with heart. The fans could already sense this wasn't going to be just a boxing match. It was going to be a story of contrast, of two men fighting not just for victory, but for validation. The early rounds unfolded like a showcase of Linares' mastery. His combinations were poetry in motion: right hand, left hook, uppercut, pivot. The Venezuelan fought as if he were sculpting the air, each punch landing with surgical accuracy. Arakawa, undeterred, absorbed the punishment with his chin, his pride, and an unshakable smile. It was the smile of a man who knew pain was a language, and he was fluent in it. The commentators marveled at Linares' control, his timing, his footwork, his calm dominance. Yet behind every exchange was a silent warning. Linares had always been brilliant, until he wasn't. History whispered through the noise of the crowd, memories of Antonio DeMarco, memories of Sergio Thompson. Nights when brilliance crumbled under pressure. But this night, Jorge looked different. There was no panic in his eyes, no hesitation in his stance. The jab flicked like a whip. The right cross came behind it like thunder. Arakawa's forward march became slower, his head snapping back from precise counters, yet the Japanese warrior refused to yield. He was throwing punches from the depths of his will, seeking to break Linares' rhythm with volume and courage. It was the story of a dreamer versus a survivor. Each round, the pattern repeated. Linares dictating space, Arakawa trying to turn that space into a battlefield. The fans could feel the tension tighten like a drum. The Venezuelan's elegance clashed with the Japanese man's resolve, and the canvas became the stage of two worlds colliding in one beautiful, brutal symphony. By the fourth round, the fight had turned into a test of attrition wrapped in artistry. Linares' combinations rained down like golden sparks. Left to the body, right upstairs, pivot out, jab again. His rhythm was hypnotic, his confidence unshakable. Arakawa, though bruised, refused to let his spirit dim. Every time Linares landed clean, Arakawa answered with grit, throwing back even when his punches found nothing but air. The crowd roared each time the Japanese fighter pressed forward, admiring not his success but his defiance. You could see in Arakawa's eyes that he wasn't just fighting to win, he was fighting to belong. Linares, for all his skill, began to feel that resistance, that stubborn refusal to fade. It wasn't physical pressure alone, it was psychological. Arakawa was trying to lure Linares into the trenches, to make him stay and trade, to tempt the artist into chaos. And for flashes, Linares obliged. A left uppercut from nowhere, a hook to the ribs, a beautiful pivot. Then he'd stay a second too long and eat a shot. The crowd gasped, sensing the danger, because for Linares, beauty had always come with a price. Still, the Venezuelan remained composed. His punches carried the calm assurance of a man who knew the canvas was his kingdom. Arakawa's relentless engine continued to push, but every round the Venezuelan painted a clearer masterpiece, a display of control, skill, and maturity that hinted this might finally be the version of Jorge Linares that fulfilled every promise once made about him. Round by round, the rhythm became a dance of contrast. In the fifth and sixth, Arakawa's pressure grew desperate, but Linares countered with elegance and sharpness that dazzled even the experts at ringside. He wasn't just fighting a man, he was exorcising ghosts. Every jab was a reminder that talent can outlast trauma. His corner urged composure, telling him to stay off the ropes, keep the fight in the center, and he obeyed with discipline. But even as he landed clean, his body began to carry the marks of war. Blood trickled near his right eye. The toll of constant exchanges showed in the way he breathed between rounds. Yet he smiled, a knowing, confident smile, because he could feel the fight flowing in his direction. Arakawa, battered but unbowed, kept coming, still believing that one opening, one reckless exchange could change everything, and that was the beauty of it. No matter how wide the scorecards might have been, no one in that arena could look away. Linares' brilliance was mesmerizing. Arakawa's toughness was heroic. Together, they created a fight that wasn't about domination or destruction. It was about endurance, one man's skill enduring another's will. The crowd began to sense they were witnessing something rare, a master boxer forced to dig deep, not because of danger, but because of relentless defiance from across the ring. By the seventh and eighth rounds, fatigue began whispering in both corners. Linares still glided, still struck with precision, but his steps carried a weight now. His punches came slightly slower, his breath heavier. That's when Arakawa's courage began to shine even brighter. He surged forward, eating jabs, slipping hooks, digging to the body, throwing five-punch combinations that refused to stop. The arena applauded his bravery with every burst. Linares' counters remained sharp, a right cross snapping Arakawa's head back, a left hook cutting through his guard. But the Japanese warrior's chin was made of granite, his soul unbreakable. Then came the clash, a collision of heads that sliced a cut over Linares' right eye. The crimson streak ran down his cheek like a badge of war. The referee paused the action, and for a moment, tension gripped the crowd. Would this be another Linares heartbreak? Would the artist's masterpiece end in blood once more? But no, the Venezuelan refused the script of tragedy. When the fight resumed, he fought with fury, unleashing combinations with renewed purpose. Each punch seemed to say, "Not this time." Arakawa absorbed it all and kept moving forward, his own blood mixing with sweat, both men locked in a violent embrace of mutual respect. The fans stood, roaring as the round slipped away. This wasn't just boxing. This was the soul of the sport on display. Round 9 turned into a storm. Linares' cut was bleeding. Arakawa's face was swelling, but neither man backed off. The Japanese challenger kept pressing, chasing his dream through the fire, hoping pressure could break perfection. Linares, though wounded, looked magnificent, pivoting, slicing, countering with precision born of genius. Every exchange felt like a microcosm of their identities. Arakawa throwing with courage, Linares landing with art. The commentators could barely keep up, describing the fight as a clash between elegance and endurance. The referee had already confirmed the cut came from an accidental clash of heads, so the bout would go to the scorecards if stopped. But neither man wanted mercy. They wanted to finish this the only way fighters understand, standing tall when the final bell rings. Linares' corner worked furiously between rounds, blood streaming, adrenaline flowing, while Arakawa's team begged him to keep the pace, to find one opening. As the crowd chanted, the sense of history filled the air. Jorge Linares had fought with beauty before, but never with such grit. Nihito Arakawa had been in wars before, but never against such skill. When the bell sounded for the final round, both men stood, touched gloves, and shared a look that transcended words. The look of two men who knew they had already earned something far greater than victory. The 10th and final round was pure theater. Arakawa charged forward like a soldier in a last stand, throwing everything he had left. His punches were wild, desperate, brave. Linares met him with precision, firing back crisp counters, every shot deliberate, dutiful, defiant. The ring became a storm of leather and willpower. Blood dripped from Linares' face, sweat flew from Arakawa's hair. The crowd's roar shook the walls. Each fighter understood. This round wasn't about scorecards anymore. It was about heart, legacy, and pride. Arakawa tried to break him on the inside, digging to the body, swinging to the head. Linares moved, then stopped, stood his ground, and answered with a blinding three-punch combination that snapped the Japanese fighter's head back. They smiled through the chaos. Two warriors, two philosophies, one unspoken respect. As the final seconds ticked away, they traded until the bell, refusing to let the other have the last word. When it ended, they embraced. No animosity, no arrogance, only admiration. The audience rose in ovation, their cheers not for the winner, but for the spectacle of courage and skill they had witnessed. The blood, the sweat, the artistry, it was all part of the same canvas. When the final decision was read, the verdict was unanimous. All three judges saw the same truth the world had just witnessed. Jorge El Niño de Oro Linares, the Venezuelan artist, had painted his masterpiece. His jab had written poetry, his combinations had sung, and his heart had roared louder than doubt. Arakawa stood beside him, defeated on the scorecards, but victorious in the hearts of those who love the purity of boxing. They had given the sport what it craved most: authenticity. For Linares, it was redemption, a reaffirmation that his beauty was not fragile, but forged from fire. For Arakawa, it was proof that courage could be immortal, even in defeat. As the lights dimmed and the crowd's roar softened into applause, the image of Linares, blood-streaked but smiling, stood as a portrait of a man who had finally conquered his own history. That night wasn't just another win. It was a resurrection, a reminder that the most beautiful victories are the ones earned through scars. In the end, the fight between Jorge Linares and Nihito Arakawa was more than 10 rounds of punches. It was 10 rounds of storytelling, written in pain, pride, and persistence. Linares' hands told the tale of precision, timing, and evolution, while Arakawa's spirit reminded everyone why boxing is called the sweet science, not just for how it's fought, but for how it's endured. The cameras caught the final moments, the blood, the handshake, the respect, and the fans watching around the world knew they had seen something timeless. In a sport where knockouts and highlight reels often steal the headlines, this fight stood as a quiet testament to what makes the greats great. Not invincibility, but the courage to return after failure and to shine brighter than before. As Linares left the ring, the lights glimmering against his sweat-streaked face, one thing was certain: El Niño de Oro was golden again, and Nihito Arakawa had helped him prove it. Boxing, at its best, is poetry written in pain, and on this night, the verses were unforgettable.